This podcast is being recorded on Kaurna land. We honour and celebrate the strong cultural traditions of motherhood, family and connection to country.
How Motherhood Changed Me is brought to you by Harrison Macmillan, Australia's leading recruitment firm run by women who live by values that make their mothers proud.
No woman can say motherhood hasn't changed her, but every mother's story is different.
That's what we've always said. Just because, you have a uterus and you've chosen to use it doesn't mean you're going to become best buddies with those women or that you're going to click with them. And I think for us, the click is critical. I just think it's a chemistry thing. And again, going back to that, there is chemistry in friendship. It's not just reserved for romantic, partnered relationship in that traditional sense of a relationship with a significant other. You have to have chemistry in your friendships. And I think you know that very early on. We've always trusted our guts with that. And we had people early on when we both met and we fell into this very deep friendship love. And there was all this excitement. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. People were like, just be careful. Just be careful. Just keep doing what you're doing individually. And you let Sarah keep doing what she's doing, putting everything together into one basket, all your eggs in the one basket. Is that the right thing to do? And for us, we were just like, absolutely. Like that has been, and I know it probably sounds a bit risky and a bit crazy, but it would never have worked the way it has had we not just been all in from the beginning.
This is How Motherhood Changed Me. Hello, I am Kerry Turner.
And I'm Jenny Yates. And one of the things I wasn't prepared for when I first became a mum was my friendships changing, Kerry.
They do.
Some completely ended, and it wasn't because of a big fight or anything like that. We just drifted apart. There are others where we both try to keep in touch, but maybe we're at different life stages and things like that. There are other friendships that I have made, though, now that I'm a mum and through my kids. And I have to say, some of these people are my favourite humans ever. And our guests today actually met in their 30s. They became fast friends. Together, they've created an amazing event where other women can meet and make new friendships too. So Lise Carlaw Sarah Wills, aka Lise and Sarah, welcome.
Thank you
Hello.
for having us. I don't even know what we were talking about today. You sent the email going, do you want to have a chat? And maybe you'd sent it in that initial brief. And I said to Lise, these Adelaide chicks seem cool. Do you want to do it? And we said, yeah. And so 5 minutes before we got on, I was like, do you know what Kerry and Jenna are talking to us about? I said, absolutely nothing. So let's just...
We're all just winging it.
Let's see where these conversations
Love
are.
it. Love it.
I'm in for the ride.
Love this. Okay, girls, before we do jump into a bit of a chit chat, can I get from each of you a word that you would use to describe yourselves before you became a mum?
Oh, wow. Okay, before.
I should have done some research. I probably listened to a few of these previous podcast interviews.
Oh, God. Like as just a general individual?
Yeah,
or
just you as a woman.
God, I think I was pretty clueless. I think about life in general. I think motherhood has absolutely shaped who I am. But that's, I was 28 when I had my first. I don't know. It feels like 100 years ago now.
Yeah, a bit naive, I suppose. Yeah, I'd say naive.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll come back to those later. When you girls first met, I'd love to know all about it, where you met, how it all came to be.
Yeah, okay. Well, Lise and I met online. We were on maternity leave from our respective roles, and we had been writing for a lot of back when blogging was a huge thing. So we'd been writing for online publications and we had our own pages. And being from Brisbane, which is very similar to Adelaide, I imagine, where everybody kind of knows everyone through not even 6 degrees of separation. It's like 2 or 3. Yes. And so we ended up having mutual friends in common who had said to each of us, are you following Lise Carlaw? She's really funny. I think you'd like her humour, and vice versa to Lise. And so it started as an online commenting, then messaging. We both realised we were pregnant with our second children, and they ended up being born 2 days apart. And I
No
can
way.
remember messaging Lise when she was still in hospital after having her boy. And we finally met in the flesh when the babies were 4 months old. We realized we only lived a suburb apart, and Lise rocked up at my doorstep one night with some warm brie and crackers from the IGA. I remember it so clearly. And she had on Ugg boots and leggings. And she had like these doe eyes, and she just looked really kind of like well put together for somebody who'd just given birth.
That's a
month
lie.
ago.
That's an absolute lie. Because in my head, I was like, I'm meeting this girl. And note how I'm using the word girl, because like we always talk about still feeling 22 or 28.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to meet this new friend. I'm going to start the way I mean to finish. So I'm not rocking up looking like anything fancy, because that's not how I do friendship. I'm not going to pretend from the get-go that I'm anything that I'm not. So it was just like full Sophie Monk vibes, you know, like leggings and Ugg boots and not a scrap of makeup, and just like some pretty bad food selections, to be honest.
Yeah. And then we just ended up chatting that first night for, I think it was about 4 or 5 hours, until Lisa's breast started hurting and she had to go home and feed.
Leaking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's right. I've got 2 of these animals at home.
Yeah. And then that was it. Then we were just in each other's lives from then on, which was very surprising. We always say we thought that we had our adult friendship circles were very much in place. You know, we had our heritage friendships from school and uni and our 20s, and didn't think that there was capacity for an opening, I guess. And then in walks somebody to your life who's pretty wonderful, who you feel like you've known for decades and decades and decades. And it was just like a very intense getting to know each other, make up for lost time. And then, we started working together, and it's sort of all grown from there.
I'm absolutely guilty of having said in the past, I've got enough friends, I don't need any more. And then I became a mum and went, oh, the friends that I have made since becoming a mum are some of my most treasured friendships now. Like, how silly of me to just, put a line through it, no more friends, I don't have space in my life. Because those friendships now that I have developed and nurtured are so special.
And the having the second baby at the same time, it sets you up to be in the same place and to understand where each other's at.
That was actually really key for us, because even though we were, as you say, in exactly the same life stage, interestingly, motherhood and parenthood has never really been a foundation for us in terms of what we talk about extensively. Obviously, as best mates, we absolutely share stories about what's going on, like any words of advice here, or even just a debrief. But as a whole, I think when I found Sarah, it was actually the departure from motherhood that I found so invigorating. And I've recently come across a new term called, I haven't even told you about this, Sarah, might freak you out, called romantic friendship, which is a different, which, you know, you do not read anything into it beyond a really deep platonic friendship. But the difference between platonic friendship and romantic friendship is that there is a level of infatuation with that friend that sort of supersedes other deep friendships, where I think we found each other at a time where we were both sort of probably unfulfilled career-wise. You know, there was a pause, obviously, because we were breeding. We had all these big ideas, but had never really found a foothold in the career space of what that could be. We didn't even know. We couldn't even articulate what is it that we want to do. And then meeting Sarah, it was just like, oh my God, this is it. She's part of this equation for some reason. So even though we are both mothers, we're both raising families of 4 and what have you, it's just never, the motherhood piece has never really been what we get off on in our friendship, right? Would that be fair to say?
No, I mean, kids are boring. So we're far more interesting than our children.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think
that's
so.
probably, I mean, with the exception of us having a motherhood podcast, I mean, maybe these days we talk about motherhood a lot, but, you know, our friendship, we were friends before we both had kids.
Yeah.
And when we'd catch up, it would just be us, wouldn't it? And
yeah, it really would. I had never thought about that, but
Yeah.
it's very much what we were. We'd ask how the kids were.
But it was a non, because you have your friends, and I did say earlier, some of these women are some of my favourite people ever, and we sort of fold into one another's lives, and the kids run around and play with each other. But then it's also important to be able to go outside of the home for a lunch on your own or a dinner or something away from the children to just be yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we're the same. We have those parent friends that you're in the trenches with, that they're integral. You just can't do it without that village. But
I think, as you touched on too, Lise, because we were in exactly the same life phase with our youngest being 2 days apart, it meant that everything we did career-wise, from early breakfast radio to even traveling recently, because both those kids are now in grade 5. It doesn't matter that the older kids are different. There's 18 months difference between the two older ones. It's the youngest that have kept us in the same routines, the same life considerations, I suppose. Like, we had always said, we want to be working full-time together by the time the little ones are in prep. And we were able to say that because that was our reality.
Yeah.
As it was, it turned out that happened a year prior, but we were then navigating, daycare and time available, and it was always very much even Steven. So as far as working together in a friendship goes, having kids at that same phase of life was absolutely very important, and still is.
It's probably one of the reasons why mums do struggle to make those meaningful connections with other women.
Because you go to mum's group, but
Yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily get along with all the women in your mother's group.
Yeah,
totally.
that's what we've always said. Just because, you know, you have a uterus and you've chosen to use it doesn't mean you're going to become best buddies with those women or that you're going to click with them. And I think for us, the click is critical. Like, I just think it's a chemistry thing. And again, going back to that, there is chemistry in friendship. It's not just reserved for romantic, partnered relationship in that traditional sense of a relationship with a significant other. You have to have chemistry in your friendships. And I think you know that very early on. We've always trusted our guts with that. And we had people early on when we both met, and we fell into this very deep friendship love, and there was all this excitement. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. People were like, just be careful. Just be careful. You know, just keep doing what you're doing individually, and you let Sarah keep doing what she's doing. You know, putting everything together into one basket, all your eggs in the one basket. Is that the right thing to do? And for us, we were just like, absolutely. Like that has been, and I know it probably sounds a bit risky and a bit crazy, but it would never have worked the way it has had we not just been all in from the beginning.
Would you describe it as more of a sisterhood maybe?
I don't know. I feel like sisterhood can be an overused word too. Like,
well, we both have sisters, we both know what that
like.
feels like. Is it like that? That's a good question. I think it probably sits.
Do you have fights like sisters? Can you fight?
We've had three fights in 10 years.
Who's counting?
3 fights.
Sarah is.
Every time it happened, like, I'm really disappointed.
I'm telling Mum.
I remember we said that to somebody, and they're like, you've only had 3. With the amount of time you spend together, you've only had 3 fights. Yeah. And I was like, yeah.
It's never been about our friendship. The fights haven't been about our friendship. It's been about disagreements and misunderstandings over work things, which is 100% workable if you put the friendship above the work. So yes, there's tense words, there's difficulties exchanged, but then at the crux of it, like, we get over it and work through it. It's just never been anything more than like a half day.
Yes.
of tense words, but yeah.
Do you girls fight?
I don't think we've ever had a fight.
We haven't had a fight, no.
No. I'm struggling to think.
Perhaps this podcast will lead to our first disagreement.
But also, do you think too, the times when Lise and I have had those 3 fights were in intense work periods where there were so many other pressures coming in. And it's almost, maybe that's where the sisterly thing comes in, where it's like you can make that person a scapegoat because, you know, there's so much love there, which you should never take for granted. But it's like, you know, it will resolve. So it's like
safe. Yeah. It feels
like
safe.
when you fight with your spouse,
Totally.
like you have a go or something, but then it's like, this will all be totally fine. Like, it's all good.
Or then, you know, you both go, I was so dumb.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
It's ridiculous.
But it has been a learning curve because we have so much riding on this friendship. You know, we've got everything riding on this friendship. But for some reason that hasn't I don't know how to articulate it.
Well, but
it's
then
like,
it works. Said the friendship comes before the business and work. So that's always the priority, is that even like one day when we're old and grey and we're not going to discos or we're not podcasting, I still fully imagine that Lise will be part of my day-to-day life, whether there is money to be made or not.
Can I just say, as a listener though, I mean, that's why you guys are successful, because people can feel that chemistry and
it's not forced.
It's not forced, but also people want that too. And I think there are women out there. I said in my intro that, you know, I lost some friendships, and you sort of become a mum and you're like looking around going, wait, what? I'm sort of in a new space. I miss that. I like that. Do you have any advice for women that may be feeling like that? How can they find their sort of, you know, bosom buddy, for want of a better word?
I think you've got to really put yourself out there. Like we've spoken about this before. One of the things I did, because I lived overseas for a period, so one of the things I had to get really good at, despite how uncomfortable and daunting and mortifying it can be in some cases, is to actually put yourself out there and ask women out on a friendship date. There is nothing, once you do it once, you get better at it, but you actually have to lean into that instinct of, oh, I think I like her. I think I click with her. It may not be reciprocated, but if you don't chase that person down and say, do you have time for a coffee now? Or what are you doing now? Or however you want to say it. It doesn't have to be overly aggressive or intense, but if you don't suggest it, that person will just keep walking through the school gate or like you've got to be the person to initiate something.
Well, and I think what Lise said earlier when she rocked up to my house and she was like, I'm going to start how I mean to finish and just being 100% myself. So if you're looking for a new friend, right, but let's say you hate going to the races, you hate going and getting dressed up, but you're invited.
Saying this because
you're invited with.
I hate going to the races and I hate
dressing up.
It's like, come with us. We're all going, and we'll all be decked out in designer clothes or what have you. But if that's not who you are fundamentally, don't go, because then you're going to feel like an imposter in that situation from day one. And then I would also say, where you were talking about losing heritage friendships along the way and feeling like those friendships don't have a current place in your life. If I've learned one thing over the years about female adult friendship, it's that you've got to have those conversations. So if your best mate from school, let's say her name is Becky, and she doesn't have kids and she's career-wise and she's not understanding it, the best thing you can do in order to keep her in your life and yours in hers, if that's what you both want, is to just say, I am so sorry. Like, I feel so terrible that I can't give you the one-on-one time that we used to have at the moment, and I can't see a way out of it for the next 2 years. Like, just know you're always in my thoughts. I will take any crumbs of time that you can give me and put up with my screaming kids being around. Like, don't you think that's kind of, otherwise if you're not brave enough to have those vulnerable moments, those friendships will just fade away. And I think, and we did a whole podcast series with Rebecca Sparrow called the friendship project, and that was one of the things, was as women, we're often so afraid of confrontation with other women that we'd rather just go like, if I don't say anything, it'll get better. It'll get
fix
better.
itself.
But that's the opposite of things. You've actually got to talk about your feelings, I think.
And then also there's just an evolution of friendship.
True.
You know, some of them are reason, season, lifetime, and that can be painful as well. And maybe you have to fight a little bit to fight for the friendship a little bit to work out if it's reason or season or lifetime. But I think that there has to be an acceptance somewhere along the line that people do grow apart and you can still think very fondly of someone, and they may float in and out of your life, and maybe you find each other 4 years down the track or 5 years down the track. I think that's just common sense as well, to be prepared for that.
You mentioned romantic friendships before, but I think in friendships there's not always a break like there is in a romantic partnership. And I mean, this literally happened to me. My best friend from school, she was a bridesmaid in my wedding. Nothing happened, but we just stopped talking, and it just happened. And it was really painful for me because I had this new baby at home. We did live in different cities, but, you know, had there been a conversation, maybe it would have given me closure, and it would have been like, that part of our life was amazing. That friendship was beautiful, but, you know, we're in different spaces now. And it hurt more, I think, because it was never discussed.
You were ghosted.
I was ghosted.
We talk about that a little bit in the friendship project that we did, that so many women are kind of ghosted, and it's not because the other person's being
No, I don't
awful.
think there was anything bad that went down. It was just.
Yeah.
So why don't you pick up the phone?
Call her now. Here.
Well, you know what? It's a really good question. And as I was saying it, I was thinking it wasn't all on her, was it? So, you know, she might be thinking I ghosted her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting. I think everyone needs closure for those things. It doesn't even have to be a big deal. But I think, and particularly when you enter that parenthood trench, which, you know, is really like the first 5 years are just intense, really, I feel. I think you do sort of disappear a little bit from yourself, from how you fit in and who you want to be, who you are. I think that's very common. I was a bit of a mad. Like it's a weird time. It's just a weird time until you sort of settle into who you are all over again. So yeah, pick up the phone.
I'm going to make you ring her now. No, I won't.
I mean it. And I say this, like I had a similar situation and picked up the phone to the friend and we had the conversation, and it was the most amazing conversation. And that friendship it's back on, like it never stopped. So anyone listening, don't live in that grief of no closure, because even if you get the closure and it's sad and you know that it's not moving, you've got answers then. But that's your homework. I know we've only just met. But
Sarah, I love it. It's going to happen. I'll report back too.
Just that you can just say, I miss you.
Yeah.
I miss what we had.
Yeah.
Just want, I think about you all the time. I don't really understand what went on. I'm here if you want to talk about it. Like, it's just putting on those big girl pants, I think, sometimes and going, like, when enough time has passed and you feel like you're ready for the conversation, and I think you do.
Maybe I can buy her a ticket to Disco Club and ask her to come along with me.
Hash it out on the dance
feel
floor.
like you're young and carefree.
Nothing like
funny.
it.
In recent years, I met, it was at a networking event, really clicked. You mentioned the word clicked before. I clicked with this group of girls, and in total, there's 6 of us. We clicked at this event and we kind of kept in touch and messaged each other, have a group message thread because it's the only way to communicate when there's multiple people. And then the suggestion was made for, we need a night out. Let's do dinner and then see where the night takes us. Well, I was like, I don't really know these girls. Maybe I'll just do the dinner because then I've got an out. So I said to my husband, just having dinner, I'll be home by 9:30. I think it was 3 a.m. that I rolled in. We had the best time, and we all have children, but that's not what's brought us together. And I don't think I've even met all of the girls' different kids, but we just have the best. We describe ourselves as such a motley crew. We are from all different walks of life, but It just works. And we have the best time. Our feet hurt. Our heads hurt. It's so much fun. It's that.
And so out of curiosity, when you said that when you met these women, you clicked, what was the next step to actually locking something
It took
down?
a little while. So there were 3 of them that were quite close already. And we have since discovered that they sort of chatted amongst themselves. What do you reckon about Kerry? Do you think she's like...
Should we invite her into the club?
Yeah. And it kind of just came from that, I think. And each, the 3 ring-ins, I guess you could call us, there were conversations had about each of us. And I really like her, but is she going to fit? Like, will she work with who we are? And we do. We all work together and it's so much fun. We have one enormous night out a year. That is all we need because it takes us 12 months to recover. And then we do it all over again.
Yeah, that's so fun. And I think that's another thing that we learned about adult friendship is to that whole horseshoe, standing in a horseshoe scenario as opposed to a circle. Just always be open to new people coming in. And I totally get it. Like human beings are cliquey by nature. Like when you find your people, you hold on to them and it's hard to open yourself up. But, you know, there are always new people coming into a new school or a new suburb, and God, it's hard to break into those groups of 3 or those groups of 6. And it's certainly not saying that we all have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and welcome everyone, but just like give someone a chance because maybe you're the safe landing place for a couple of weeks until they find their real people. But I think there's something, it's what we tell our kids, right? Yeah. Be kind. Keep yourself open, and it doesn't have to be forever, but to someone who's coming in from interstate or overseas or, they're an expat and they've landed in Adelaide or Brisbane and they don't know where to start, that can mean the world and can really just set them on a good path. So that would be the other thing. As someone who's been an expat, it's just so helpful to have someone say, come along with us, even if they don't end up being your forever group.
We have a family at my kids' school this year that are here just for 12 months from the UK, and I have found myself being that person, including the kids for play dates or let's have a gin or let's have a coffee or just so mindful that not only does she not have her friendship groups here and her husband's off working, but she doesn't have her mum, she doesn't have her family, she doesn't have that support network. Yeah. She's got the 3 girls and knows no one. It's been really lovely being able to make sure she's okay and feels included.
Beautiful.
It's just so true that you cannot talk about a woman in the workplace without acknowledging the role of mothers.
We're in the midst of a skills shortage and unemployment is also at an all-time low, Kez. And I wonder if businesses realise the talent and the opportunity with mums.
Well, the team at Harrison Macmillan know all about this, and they can help your business look beyond what's on paper and recruit the best people for your workplace.
They're a values-led recruitment agency supporting over 500 clients all over Australia to find and retain exceptional talent.
They're also committed to tailoring solutions to address your unique staffing challenges, and maybe that looks a little different to what you're used to, but they know the mums have skills.
Get in touch with the team at Harrison Macmillan and see for yourself why they're the best in recruitment. Visit harrisonmacmillan.com.au. Let's talk about Disco Club because I feel like you guys have created this really safe, exciting space where women can go and have a night out with their friends, but also make new friends. And I'm sure you get that feedback all the time that it's like, oh, I made new people at Disco Club.
The aim for Disco Club is to be as welcoming and inclusive as possible so that women who don't necessarily have a group of friends who like going out partying and dancing, but they do, or who haven't found that established friendship group, they are certainly welcome to come along. And there are a lot of women who use it as their quarterly or monthly or annual get together to let their hair down. But it was simply born from Lise and me having conversations between each other, our friends, women we've interviewed who are also in their 40s saying, don't you miss going out and just dancing with your girlfriends. We're not interested in meeting blokes. We're not interested in flirting with anybody. We're not interested in hangovers or having really, really late nights out and being shattered for the rest of the weekend. We want the music that we know the words to. We want fast bar service. We want easy logistics. And we thought, imagine if there was a night like that existed. And so we were just like, well, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go.
A utopia. That's like, honestly, we've done so many of them now, and it has absolutely blown up and really transformed a whole new arm of our company and our work together. Into we never imagined for a second that it would get as big as it's gotten. But every time, and obviously Sarah and I attend each and every one of them because we love it and that's what we do. But it's like, it's the ultimate night out, exactly what Sarah's described. It's everything you miss about clubbing and nothing you don't. And there's something in that room. There's something that happens in that room. It's not just women 40 plus. What we're seeing, especially as it's getting bigger and it's going to more cities across Australia, is younger women and older women. It's like this cross-generational happy place. We had a woman the other day, I think it was the Sydney one or maybe the Perth one, who took her 18-year-old daughter for disco club to be her first night clubbing experience.
Oh, I love that.
So, and we were talking to this young woman. We were going, mate, how are you going with the songs? Because we're just playing Jessie's Girl and, Backstreet Boys, and we're going hard here. And she's like, no, but the thing is, I know this music. Yeah. There's something so familiar about it because Mum used
it in the car.
And she's like, I know all of this, and it's so much fun. And she's like, I've never seen older women, like, or women of all ages all together have fun.
Yeah.
It's either I'm out with my 18-year-old or 17-year-old friends or not. When else do you get to see women come together? And then we had an 80-year-old woman drive 4 hours to get to the Melbourne one. We've had everything from hens parties through to 40ths through to
people finishing their chemo, to women who've just gotten divorced who are there celebrating. And I don't think I said this to you, but when we were saying goodbyes on the steps in the Sydney event, a lady said to me, I've been to women's retreats before and I've sung and I've danced there. But she said, but this was something else. And I think that's interesting because all of a sudden the things that are put on the menu for women, and I'll just talk to our age at the moment, which is, 40 plus, 40, 43, 44,
my age, yep.
is retreats, like go away for a few days, escape, be in quiet, be in calm, do some yoga. And all those things are absolutely wonderful and lovely. But it's like we're opening up this portal to say, come and get a bit crazy. Like come and do the worm on the dance floor. Come and do your Rocker Stedford Corrie that you still remember from 1998. You don't have to drink, or you can drink. You don't have to come with a massive group of girlfriends. You can come alone, or you can make it as big a little a night as you want. And the women are just like, I thought this part of me was dead. I thought this chapter of my life for having nights like this was over.
Or the last time I danced like this was at a wedding. Yeah. And we don't get invited to weddings anymore at the moment because we're kind of out of that age bracket. And I'm just constantly surprised at the type of women that come because, I mean, obviously in the work that we do, we are pretty naturally extroverted. And a lot of the women who are doing the worm on the dance floor are also extroverted. But what is evident at Disco Club is the amazing women who are not that and who come alone or who come in groups of 2 and who are just happy watching the absolute mayhem that descends when 500 to 1,000 women get together and hear their favorite song. It's like the Shania Twain meme. It's like, let's go, girls. There's something that happens in that room. And it doesn't matter if you're a big personality or if you're just happy watching. It's just for everyone. And I just can't quite believe we've done it. And that we get to be so central to, a lot of joy and a lot of hilarity.
And sometimes I don't know why it surprises us because we know how innately women need connection. We know it. We read it in, feedback that gets sent to us. It's about that female friendship and missing that in their lives and wanting those touch points with other women regardless of their age. That
and that just feeling, and I'm sure you ladies remember it when there's a democratic vibe on a dance floor. If you know the song to Johnny Farnham's You're the Voice, and I'm staring at you at the same time and we're belting the lyrics out to each other, you don't actually need to know that woman. And there's a connection. It doesn't have to be cheesy. It's actually hilarious.
Well, if you're also holding your boobs while you're doing Jump by House of Pain. It's just
MC Hammer.
I mean, when Nirvana goes off, that's always a surprise.
I mean, Eminem, you've never seen like 49-year-old lose yourself in the music. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
There's this really fun trend on TikTok at the moment. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I suppose the daughter films the mum. They play this song. You've seen this? And the way mum busts out with the move.
We danced to this in the 80s.
Pure
that trend.
joy that mum has on her face when she's dancing. I just love it.
That moment of like, what were my steps? How did I dance?
But it's like muscle movement, right? She just brings it back.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's so cathartic. Someone messaged us and was just like, well, that was the cheapest therapy I've ever done. Thanks, lady. I'll be back. That felt good.
See you next year.
Oh, it does.
And it is an escape of sorts. Like there are so many women out there who just have so much shit going on in their lives. And we've heard it. They've come up to us and they've said, like my daughter's going through anorexia at the moment, or my best friend's just passed away. My husband has cancer, or like whatever it is. There is, there's these middle years are roller coaster decades. And so a chance for 4 or 5 hours to just be
to remember, just go back to
free
basic,
of everything.
Basic fun, good old fashioned fun.
Without a worry in the world for that little window of time.
It's like back to reality.
Oh, there goes gravity.
So Eminem's back.
Can I say thank you for making the time slot what you did? Because I just want to be in bed by midnight. I don't want to.
Oh, that's the goal.
Oh, yeah. It needs to be stumbling home at 1 or 2 a.m.
We start at 6, so the doors open at 6, because there's some people who are really happy to get there at 6. There's, you can have a drink at the bar or, a kombucha or whatever the hell if you're not drinking. And then we officially kick off at 7, and then it's all over by 10. And doors are closed by 10:30.
Everyone's out.
Everyone is out.
10:30. See you later. Go home.
It's
put your socks on.
Very firm on that. And whether or not women kick on after that is entirely up to them. But for the most part, I think they appreciate the ability to be, makeup off, showered, in bed by midnight, as you say.
And people can wear the sneakers. They can chuck on heels if they want.
No dress code.
There's
God, yeah. I mean, for the most part, we say dress as comfortably as you want, and for the most part, they don't. They deck themselves out in sequins and hats and tiaras and light up sneakers, and the sequin chafe is a very real thing. We've learned. The Adelaide one has sold out, which is wonderful, because we had so many calls from when we announced the dates we were doing, and then we would just get these angry Adelaide ladies. And we're like, oh my God, we're coming to you. We feel you. And it has sold out too. Yeah. But just means we have to come back.
It does. Yeah, because we didn't get tickets.
We didn't. We missed out.
We missed out. We looked up and we were too late.
It's a bit nuts. I think in the cities where we've been before and people know what they're signing up for, I think what's our record? 1 hour?
I think it's 50 minutes for that Brisbane
50
one.
minutes for 1,000 tickets. So they go. I mean, Adelaide was, a few days or maybe a week or something, but that's a new.
Yeah, we were disappointed. But for how loud the Adelaides shouted, we were like, well, come on.
There's demand. There's clearly demand.
Maybe the second Adelaide one will go faster. Yeah. But no, it's wonderful.
And you have people obviously travel for it, so no wonder.
Oh, yeah. I think we do have some people who regularly use it as a catch up for
They're interstate friends.
We had a couple in Perth, and there were women in Brizzy who couldn't get tickets because they sold out. So they're like, right, well, stuff it. We're flying over to Perth.
Wow.
We're going there.
Dedicated.
So it's lovely we're very proud of it. Yeah, we are really proud of it.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see my T-shirt. I have a Taylor Swift shirt on today. I went to a concert in Melbourne, was it February? I can't describe how amazing this concert was. Women, men, all ages, but it was just this collective joy and appreciation for this incredible artist, but just felt like the vibes. So I'm imagining that's what you've recreated.
Yeah, we get women saying that to us who we didn't get to Taylor Swift, but women who say that it does feel like a Taylor Swift concert here. So that's nice. It's a lot cheaper. And we do occasionally rip out a Taylor Swift song just for the Swifties.
But no other agendas. It's just you're all there for the same reason. That sort of vibe.
Yeah.
And people, you were saying earlier, women do meet and exchange numbers, and because I suppose there's a like-mindedness, and they have this shared experience on the night, and it does lead to other friendships. I think there was one group, Sarah, that had met on the dance floor and had hit it off and were traveling to the next one all together. I think they were going to maybe attempting the Townsville one or something. So
this actually does sound like Swifties. This is what Swifties do.
Yeah, but it's so great. It's so great. We're here for it.
Not to get all heavy, but
we're about to get heavy.
Australia, we are. We're going there. But all of this violence against women that's in our culture at the moment, it's a scary space.
It is scary.
It feels really, we shouldn't have a separate thing, but it's nice to know there is a space where you can go out with the girls and for once not have all of those checks and concerns in your mind.
Yeah, it just changes the dynamic. We have wonderful men in our lives. We're the lucky ones to feel safe around the men in our lives. But Disco Club is, like you just said, it's designed for women. It's designed for women to do what we do best, which is when we get together, all our worries and cares are put aside and you can just be who you are and not consider the dynamic shift. That just happens. It's just whether men are great or not, or they're not great or whatever. It's different. When women get together in a room, magic happens. And when do we get an opportunity to do that? Very, very few times in your life are you in a women-only space. So that's what we try and provide. We welcome non-binary folk. In fact, it's become a wonderfully safe space for people who identify as femme, but, are non-binary to come and have a great time, and they're always welcomed with open arms. But yeah, it's a really special place.
Tell me about the moment in the night where we wouldn't see you guys not dancing. What's the song that gets you off?
Oh, God. I know Sarah's.
Mine's Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero. That's my favourite.
Oh, good.
Love.
I love it.
God, I don't know. There are so many. I'm a big like a prayer Madonna. I just think it's so just that slow part at the beginning. It really gets me going. But there's so many. Like we go back to the green room, obviously, to rehydrate and do all of that and check in with each other and our team. But oftentimes the intro beats to a new song will kick off and we're like, so hold on, we'll come back.
I got salt and peppers on.
Sorry, let's take this meeting later.
The number of times I have left a bar because a song has started, I'm like, quick, and I'll get to the dance floor and all of my girlfriends are there because we all know that is our song and we've all stopped what we're doing. Drinks order is on hold and off you go. Yeah.
It's that greatest feeling, yeah.
Now, clueless and naive were the words that you chose to describe yourselves pre-mum life. Post-mum, you are mums now. What is a word that you would use to describe who you are as women now?
I'm going to say solid.
Well, that's a good one.
Confident.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a confident mother.
It's been a very common theme, hasn't it, that confidence?
Yeah, you find yourself, I think. Yeah. Eventually.
And I think
you care less.
Going back to our original words, clueless and naive, I think it's it's just you don't know what you're stepping into, and that's just the beautiful part of getting older, which we work so hard to change that narrative in, you know, the podcasts that we do and what have you. It's great getting older because you can leave clueless and naive behind.
Yeah.
Like, I am solid in who I am. And also I was clueless to the joy that was coming and to the surprises that were coming, as opposed to like, oh shit, I'm getting older. Oh, there's going to be nothing good ahead. I've done the best stuff in my life from 30 onwards. Like, forget those under 30 lists, or, you know, like, forget that. Like, there can be so much incredible surprise waiting for you, whether it's in parenting, in motherhood, in friendship, in career, that you are clueless about when you pop out your first one. I don't know. It's a nice exercise to do, the before and afterward.
Yeah.
Well, and I should also say, with saying confident, that doesn't mean I'm confident I always make the right decisions, but I'm confident in my mothering that I will always try my best. I think that's the yeah, and ask. Yeah, I'm confident in, if I didn't know something, I would ask for help, or I would
trust your instinct.
Turn to other women, and yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, you know, when before babies, I remember reading all the books. Oh my God, Tizzy Hall, Kaz Cook, all the books, give me all the knowledge, which is wonderful, and that absolutely serves a purpose. But then there's stuff that only time and walking the
lived experience.
Yeah, the lived experience can teach you. And also, I think before I was a mother, I was very black and white, very like, this is right, this is wrong. And then as you progress through having kids, you're like, there is a whole lot of gray area. There is a whole lot of gray. And the more open you are to learning and accepting and not judging how other people do things. In fact, I think I was very judgy. I think I would have been very, very judgy, you know, like, oh God, that baby doesn't have socks on. He's cold. You know, like, oh, why are you at Westfield? Take him home for a sleep. Right. And then you're like, I'm living at Westfield. This is where I live now with
the
my
coffee's
8-week
here.
Get out. You know, like it's all that kind of stuff where you're like, oh, you little brat.
Yeah.
Well, we think you're fabulous, and hopefully you will come back to Adelaide and obviously add more dates in, because I'm sure the listeners are going to go feral now. They know about you both.
Go feral is a great tagline.
Disco club. Go feral.
I came to Adelaide for the first time this year. I came with my family early in January, and then Lise and I came on a work trip in March. Yeah. I love the place. Adelaide, I don't know why it gets the rap it does. I'm like, everyone who thinks that Adelaide is this like provincial little, I mean, it's just not. It's so
cool.
good. As soon as I got to Adelaide, and I don't do this in Melbourne or anywhere else, I'm like looking up real estate. I'm like, what is this? Because you're like, this, I could live here one day.
Yeah, I think it feels very familiar to the way lifestyle is in Brisbane, even though climate is very different. But there's something about that big country town. There's still something that feels very grounded.
I am ready for a seaside place at Glenelg. I am here for
it feels like nobody takes themselves too seriously in Adelaide, which is very Brisbane, which is, I think for the most part, Brisbane folk are like
running
that.
I love it.
I'm originally from Sydney and moved over here for work, but Kerry and I often say, 20 minutes and you're where you need to be.
It's a 20-minute city.
It's not like that in Sydney.
Not like that in Brisbane anymore either, unfortunately.
The wineries are only half an hour away. I thought they were well out walk. Like you had to go to Maggie Beer's kind of farm area to get there, but they're like so cool.
We loved it.
Hey, do you know one cool thing about Adelaide? It is the capital city in all the world that has the closest working winery to it. So that's Penfolds McGill Estate. Of anywhere else in the world, Adelaide's the closest capital city. Have I said that right? Does that make sense? But I love that.
Makes sense.
I think we Googled that when we were there because we visited the Adelaide Hills region. We stayed a few nights.
We went to Nepenthe.
Oh, that's nice.
I can't remember. 2 sisters run it.
Oh God, it was amazing. But yeah, we were blown. We hired a car. It was like a self-drive.
Yep.
thing. It was awesome.
Pretzels in Harndorf. I mean,
it's great.
Who needs to go to Germany?
Great girls weekend.
What about there?
I can envisage you guys are going to get the South Australian Tourism Commission job next. You did a fantastic job.
Beautiful.
Well, I'm yet to hit the beaches there. We didn't have time on this work trip, but we had planned to, Sarah was like, I'm going to take you out to the beaches and we'll have a nice lunch. And it just didn't eventuate. And then we had the Fringe Festival that night. We were just cramming so much in. Yeah. So hopefully when we're there for Disco Club, there might be a window to see more of your beautiful city. So yeah.
And we'd welcome you back anytime.
Thank you. And thank you for having us on.
Thank you so much. What a fun chat.
It was great. Thank you so much for joining us on How Motherhood Changed Me. We'd love you to be part of the conversation by connecting with us on social media. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review and subscribe.